You started to smile based on something your coach had said, and you seemed to play a little bit more freely, a little bit more happy. Just kind of what led to that change of emotion? Just your thoughts on it. What did your coach say?
Trying to recall. I think he like, I forgot, but he told me something, and then I told him, I was like, I'm trying, you know. Yeah, but I think, yeah, like I said, I think at the end of the day, I definitely could have performed better today. But yeah, all things aside, in the end of the day, I think there's still definitely a gap in terms of level between me and Coco and other players of her caliber. So yeah, I think she did great, and my job is to try and close that gap, and I think I'm doing that quite well. So I'll keep working on it, and hopefully next time will be a bit tighter. Yeah.
Hey, Eala, what are you going to improve in the next 2 months?
Next 2 months, I think I have time now for Indian Wells to kind of reassess and regroup and take a small break and build again, because I've been on the road and competing week after week after week this year. So I think physically is something I can reassess my physical state, try to build upon more injury prevention and things like that, and I think that will reflect also on the game, on my game. I think that's one of the things that can bridge the gap between myself and those top 5 players. Yeah.
Congrats, Coach. Filipino fans supported you every time. What is the message for you?
Coco Gauff just gave Eala the toughest wake-up call of her young career. A bagel in the first set, a heavy second set, and then a post-match line that people are still talking about. Almost nobody expected Gauff to put it that way, and the reaction has not slowed down since. Drop a comment below with your take on it, because this has split fans right down the middle. Some people heard motivation, others heard a shot, and either way, it put a spotlight on Eala that is not going away. If Eala takes this the right way, this could turn into the moment that pushes her into a new level.
That is wide. And Gauff into a second semi-final here in Dubai. That was a very, very solid performance from the third seed. She came into a cauldron of an atmosphere here with the crowd behind Eala, but she kept them quiet, winning the first 10 games. Yes, there was a little wobble as Eala attempted to come back. But overall, Anna, from Coco Gauff, a much improved performance.
Yeah, she will absolutely be happier with her performance tonight in comparison to yesterday.
Start with the scoreline, because the numbers matter before anything else. 0-6-2-6. And that is what happened when Eala stepped onto the court to face Coco Gauff in the quarterfinals of the Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships. The match went a little over an hour, and at one stretch, Gauff won 10 consecutive games. Eala did not take a single game in the entire first set, and she got broken in all 3 of her service games in that opener. The first set ended with a bagel, the quick tennis way of saying 0. The kind of set where one player cannot get anything on the board against the person on the other side of the net. That was not a close match that slipped away late. That was a clear message. Gauff delivered that message with her racket, and then she followed it with words afterward that somehow caused even more noise than the scoreline itself. The match already looked brutal on paper, but what people carried away from Dubai was not only the 6-0, 6-2 result, it was the way the conversation changed the moment Gauff started talking after it ended.
Yeah, super ball striking that from Gauff. Excellent start.
Before getting into what she said, the match itself needs to be explained in a fair way, because the details make the result easier to understand and also more useful for Eala moving forward. Coco Gauff entered this quarterfinal with a few question marks hanging around her, mainly because her previous round against Elise Mertens had people watching her serve closely. Double faults at key moments, an inconsistent first delivery, and the kind of serving stretch that can hand opponents chances they did not earn through rallies. Going into this match, plenty of commentary centered on one idea, so that Gauff's serve might be the opening Eala could attack if she played the match of her life. Gauff shut that down fast. She did commit 3 double faults in the opening set, which is not clean by any standard, but the bigger number mattered more because she won 80% of her first serve points. 80%. When Gauff's first serve landed in, Eala won just 27% of those points, and that single stat explains the first set better than any highlight reel ever could. When the player across the net is winning 4 out of every 5 first serve points, the match stops being about small tactics and turns into survival. Service games disappear quickly, hold holds become rare, and the score starts to look uglier than the actual gap sometimes feels in real time. That is the tricky part about a 6-0, 6-2 line. See, because it does not always mean the losing player played awful tennis. Sometimes it means the winner was simply locked in, and Gauff was locked in during that first set in a way that would have caused problems for almost anyone on the WTA Tour, not only a 20-year-old still learning what a big quarterfinal feels like at full speed. From the first point, Gauff controlled the rallies. Her returns stayed deep and heavy, and that pushed Eala out of the spots where she likes to strike cleanly. She attacked second serves, she played first strike tennis, and she kept taking charge early in points before Eala could find a rhythm. The error numbers showed that control too, because Eala finished with 15 unforced errors in the match, while Gauff kept hers to just 7. Even without watching a single ball, that margin tells you Gauff played with discipline, and Eala ended up pressing, trying to find answers that were not there in the moment. The second set had a slightly different feel, but the early pattern stayed the same. Gauff jumped out to 3-0, stretching that run of consecutive games into double digits, and at that point, it looked like the match might turn into a complete runaway from start to finish. Then Gauff hit back-to-back double faults, and suddenly Eala had a break point, which briefly opened the door to a less lopsided finish. Eala did not convert it, and Gauff settled right back in, leaning on her serve and her backhand to shut down any momentum before it could build. Eala did manage to put a bit more fight on the board after that. She held serve to win the 5th game, and then she broke Gauff in the 6th to make it 4-2, and that stretch finally looked like something closer to a real exchange between two high-level players. That push did not last long, because Gauff broke back right away in the 7th and closed the match in the 8th, and that was that. Now comes the part that lit up the internet, because the post-match quote hit people harder than the scoreboard. After the match, Gauff talked about Alex Eala and offered what sounded like encouragement, but a lot of viewers heard it as sharper than it needed to be. The core message was simple in essence, that Eala needs to train harder and keep working if she wants to compete at this level. The tone came across like a more established player giving a younger one a reality check, and the reaction, especially from Eala's Filipino fanbase, landed all over the place. Nothing Gauff said was false. Eala is 20 years old and Gauff is 21, so the age gap is only 1 year, but the experience gap is much wider right now. Gauff entered this tournament as the 3rd seed. She already owns a Grand Slam title, and she has been in these matches enough times to know what it takes to keep your level steady under pressure. Advice like work harder hits differently when it comes from someone who has already done the work and turned it into big results by the age of 21. Still, the timing is what made it sting for many people. Coming right after a 6-0, 6-2 quarterfinal loss, train harder can sound like real mentorship to one group and like a public reminder of the beating to another group. The scoreline already said plenty, and for some fans, the extra comment felt unnecessary, even if it was not meant to be cruel. A lot of this came down to perspective, because the people who support Gauff heard a champion keeping it honest, and the people who support Eala heard their player being talked down to in public after a rough loss. Gauff's intent, though, did not look malicious. She has been through her own tough stretches on tour. She has taken her own hard losses, and she has lived the process of getting exposed by elite players before becoming one of them. She understands development because she has done it in front of cameras, crowds, and constant commentary, and that is why she likely believed that message would help rather than hurt. The internet, as usual, did not wait for calm interpretation, and the response split fast. Comment sections turned loud, posts spread quickly, and the phrase "train harder" became a flashpoint people argued about for hours. If you step back from the emotions and look at the bigger picture for Alex Eala, the story is not only about a painful loss. A quarterfinal at a WTA 1000 event is a real step, and she earned that spot by taking out major competition. Eala reached the last 8, and she did it by beating Jasmine Paolini, a top 10 player, a former Dubai champion, and a Grand Slam finalist in the round of 16. She saved 6 match points in that win, then finished it with a forehand winner up the line in the tiebreak. And that is not luck or a fluke. That is a player handling heat in a big moment. Getting beaten by Coco Gauff in a quarterfinal is not a career failure, even if it feels harsh because of how one-sided the first set looked. And losing to the 3rd seed in a tournament you were not expected to go deep in does not erase what happened earlier in the week. The loss hurt because the score was ugly, and the post-match comment added extra emotion, but the overall run still included back-to-back wins, a top 10 scalp, and a quarterfinal at one of the biggest events in women's tennis, all at the age of 20. Her record against top 10 players now sits at 3-3. 3 wins, 3 losses. The wins include Madison Keys, Iga Swiatek, and Jasmine Paolini, and all 3 wins came in straight sets. The losses came against elite opponents in tough situations, and those earlier losses went to 3 sets. She had not taken a bagel from a top 10 player before today, and that is why this match felt different. Sucks because the first set got away from her completely, and the pressure never eased. The next stop is Indian Wells, the BNP Paribas Open, another WTA 1000 event that starts on March 4th. Eala will take the full Dubai experience into that event. The Paolini win, the quarterfinal appearance, and also the hour-plus on court with Gauff, where the gap showed itself without any confusion. A 6-0 set against a top 5 level player gives you a very clear map of what needs work, even if it is a hard map to look at right after the match. That is where Gauff's train harder message connects next to reality, even if people disliked the timing. The gap that showed up in the first set was real, and closing it is not about one clever adjustment or one different tactic. It is about sustained, a focused training that shows up on match day as stronger serving patterns, heavier returns, better control under pressure, and the ability to stop an opponent from winning 80% of first serve points while holding you to 27% on those same points. That kind of change does not happen in a pep talk. It shows up after months of work. Eala is not naive about where she stands, and she has already shown that in her interviews. After the Paolini win, she sounded clear about the moment, proud of the result, and also aware that bigger challenges were still ahead. That same mindset matters after this loss, because the scoreline is locked in, the comment is already out there, but the progress is also real. The quarterfinal appearance is real, the Paolini win is real, the back-to-back wins are real, and that 3-3 record against the top 10, with 3 straight set wins, is real too. Alex Eala took a hard lesson in Dubai, the kind that hurts twice when it comes with public noise afterward, but the best players take lessons like that and turn them into fuel. Indian Wells is 3 weeks away, and Coco Gauff said, train harder, and it sure looks like Eala heard it loud and clear. Alex Eala got beaten badly, then got challenged right after, and that combination might end up being the most important part of her week. The tennis world is watching what she does next, so hit that like button, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments.